Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes, Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 40 podcast platforms, heard on over 110 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music. Also heard on HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and a few networks coming soon. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. Make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific lady who's a board-certified patient advocate and founder of Gethealthhelpcom, making a phenomenal difference in people's lives, and began a private practice patient advocate in 2008 and using the title since 1976 and represented businesses and also a number of labor and community organizations for 30 plus years. And she focuses on helping private clients with hard to diagnose and chronic health conditions and issues. She's also guided hundreds of professionals to focus our business on the future of healthcare. And she'll be sharing her stories about the healthcare system as well too, and why it's important to pick the proper power of attorney, and also some stories as well too. And what's it take to become a patient advocate? We'll find out just 1 minute. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown New Jersey, the board certified patient advocate and founder of Healthhelp.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Caryn Isaacs. Caryn, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. I am in New York City. I'm
I see.
Big Apple.
Well, you're on the East Coast, let's just say, too. So your jobs are just too close together here. So, so you're a board certified patient advocate and founder of GetHealthHelp.com, making phenomenal difference in people's lives. And you began private practice back in 2008, using the title back in 1976, represented various businesses, labor, and community organizations for 30 plus years. Your focus is helping private clients with hard to diagnose and chronic health conditions. And you also help guide hundreds of professionals who focus their business on the future of healthcare. And you also have stories to share, and also some what to look for in a patient advocate and more. And before we talk about that, Caryn, tell us how you first got started.
So was a I wanted to be in theater, and I was going to school for theater, and my father had a heart attack
Mm.
my first year in college, and so my local dentist heard about our family's plight and suggested that I might want to come and train to work as a dental assistant. And fast forward from there, I was setting up healthcare um, facilities. Basically, I was the only one who really was doing it at that time because doctors could first start to advertise. And so they didn't know how to advertise. And I was, instead of advertising on the back of the bus, or, they didn't have, I actually did have one radio client. It was Doctors Mailman and Flug, and their They had Lee Crizzo, who wrote the Jordasheen's commercial, wrote a jingle for them. It was a wonderful experience of hearing how we listened to different singers, and they actually decided to take mortgages on their house and to promote it, and they became multimillionaires. It was very successful. But most of my marketing efforts were to groups where we would put on health fairs, have notices in the paychecks to say that these doctors accepted their insurance, and nobody was accepting insurance in those days. So I was asked to speak many times, and doctors need to get credits to keep their licenses. So my talks were approved to for continuing education concerning at that time what was called the disenfranchisement of the healthcare system. The healthcare system was being considered that people were not going to, their family doctor who would do everything and follow them to the hospital and deliver their babies and pronounce them DOA. There, there was just, and so from there, I started to meet with people who were in the managed care industry, which we didn't have in the East Coast. All managed care started on the West Coast. And I met a couple of guys who had started a physician-owned HMO. And I brought that idea to some of my clients, and we raised $20 million and
Wow.
submitted the application. And I basically, doctors don't like to do the work. They had their wife do it, so their wife was the one that did all the work, and they got all the glory. So they said, "Well, we paid you. You go ahead and write it." So I wrote the whole HMO application. I found out how to do it. I interviewed people. I brought people in, consultants from all over the country, and that really was the beginning of what is now most of the healthcare system in the New York, New Jersey area, which is health systems owned by hospitals. Uh, I in When 2001 came, and what happened here on the East Coast, I guess other parts of the country were affected. I was opening up a two-story surgery center at the World Trade Center too, and so my mother had just passed away. I turned 50 years old, and they blew up my office. So
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't think we need to rehash that as well too. If September 11th came around, you could talk about it right now. It's just like, that kind of brings back a lot of memories of 9/11. So, your office was blown to smithereens, and then afterwards, it's just almost like, okay, my office got blown up. It's like, okay, what do we do now? So
So I had always been I had been developing a directory of my doctors, my clients, and so I would put out a book every year for 25 years. Put out a book saying, these are the participating doctors. I called it participating doctors, meaning they were participating with me.
hmm
And so, and on the back of the book, I had, if you don't see what you want here, call the patient advocate. So just thought that was a great name because it was people who had problems, and in the workplace, there was a lot of people who were taking off time from work for themselves, but also for their family members. And so when I went down to Florida, my husband and I moved to Florida for a couple of years. We moved into my mother's apartment, and which was in a 55 and over community. I volunteered and took training from Medicare, and then became a spokesperson for Medicare. And people started asking me, can you drive me to the doctor? Can you fill out my checks? I can't see anymore. And I found that that was a lot more rewarding than working for the doctors.
Mm, that sounds interesting. Almost sounds like a power of attorney in a way too, and also a nurse's aide, a caregiver, and everything else all at the same time.
Yes. So I used to say I am like the daughter that they don't have, but now that I'm a little bit older, I say I'm like the sister.
I think we can all relate to that as well too. And we'll talk more about you being a patient advocate, how you got Gethealthhelp.com started, and some of the stores as well too, what to look for. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking a budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1 800 303 3960. That's 1 800 303 3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, one target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com can be also heard on 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries. Also on HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. For great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia for great books, merchandise, and more. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you give generously today. We're here, board certified patient advocate and founder of Gethealthhelp.com, Caryn Isaacs here on the Mike Wagner Show. And you talked about how you got started in patient advocate and the change in the healthcare system. And also let's talk about Gethealthhelp.com, and tell us all about that website, and also how'd you first get started? What inspired you?
So I once I realized that 9/11 passed, and in the beginning we weren't. It wasn't just that we couldn't go down to that area, but all our customers were gone as well. So eventually things started to come back a little bit, and actually nobody knew that I was away, because at that time I was. This is before internet, so I was able to do all my business on the phone and just fly in if I had to have an appointment. But once things loosened up a little bit, I came back, and I heard about the internet. I had always enjoyed working with the computers, and I used to use a computer as my when I would go to health fairs or I would go to a convention. We would put just our name and have like a streaming thing going across.
I remember, yes, old
Message.
days.
So I had a computer that I was using for really the word processor, and so I heard about that and put up my first website in 1990. Um, and at that time it was a Delphi forums was the precursor to Facebook, and got to meet people from all over the world, all over the country. People like to come to New York, so it was easy to invite people to come and talk with me about what the future was. And I was always I was known as someone who was interested in the future of healthcare, and I could help to position doctors to promote their services or their new invention. So there was, really an exciting time in New York, where people were doing angel investing. We would, it was like a Shark Tank type of thing. We were meeting at down at the Yale Club and the Vanderbilt Club, and The bankers would come and listen to people. Oh, I have this idea. I want to make a shopping site, and we'd be like, "Yeah, who needs that?" And that's how it didn't take off.
Oh my gosh.
um, and so I started to just tell people that I was a patient advocate, and nobody had ever heard of what that was. So, um, as things changed here, where I say helped to bring managed care to New York back in the 1990s, but it really started to be utilized by the insurance companies, where the doctors had signed contracts back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. The doctors didn't realize what those contracts were about. So I was giving a talk called Greedy, Lazy, and Cheap. And that was that if it sounds too good to be true, it
It
is.
probably is. I've heard that before. Yes.
If you don't uh, if you don't put the attention to your business, it's going to fail. They were very lazy and they didn't want to do any of the work. And then they were too cheap to hire the experts because there were lawyers who offered them, "We'll review these contracts with you. We'll make sure that you're not signing your life away," which is what they did, and they didn't want to pay for that. So
Hmm.
that's really what I knew that that was going to be the change of the system. I had been involved in a lot of health reform issues. There was people were interested in um, making money, the quick buck.
Hmm.
And so I could see that that was going to be very bad for patients.
Hmm.
And so I started to just talk about how patients needed to take control of their own life. Well, what we said in the health reform movement is the reason we can't get anywhere is because the people who are fighting this battle are the sick, the old, and the poor. So,
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
so
when you talked about patient advocate, just putting the name on it before it became popular and also solidify patient advocate. When you first said patient advocate before you made it like a title, what were the first thoughts that the people came to mind? I never heard patient advocate. What are some of the things that came to mind when you said patient advocate before you made it officially a title?
yeah, well, either people thought that an advocate was a lawyer and that they needed to fight to, they would say, "Are you going to fight with the doctor?" And I said, "No, the doctors appreciate me. I always had a great relationship with them because I was making them money." And so I knew how that there were frustrations in the medical system as well, what they call compliance. The patient is not compliant. They tell them you have to lose weight. The patient doesn't do it. You tell them stop smoking. They don't do it. Tell them to uh, that they should stop, eating so much sugar. Don't drink soda. They don't do it. So
Or what about going in for surgery and what they say no, then what?
yes. And so, and then there were some real serious things. And that's the kinds of calls that I was getting all along from the back of my book, where I had said to call me if you don't see what you want. So the types of doctors who were advertising were, they had to have something special. So they were the best of the bunch that were the ones who were doing the advertising, and they were the ones who had the money to invest in real advertising to be able to make an impact. But when the patients would call, they would have very serious issues, or they would have, I call it disease of the month. I would get a rash of people calling about the same thing. Everybody had a sore throat, and everybody was saying, "I don't understand why this sore throat won't go away, and my doctor can't find out what's wrong." And I would be able to say to them, "You know what? It's going around. That's what you have."
Hmm.
Right? Because there wasn't this, on television listening to the what's your medication, and and even the news wasn't interested, and that's probably why we have a pandemic that was ignored.
And it sounds like a lot of the ads that you see on late night TV as well, too, like 50 million reruns of Star Trek or Bonanza or anything like that. You see an ad for whatever it is, and of course you had your share of healthcare horror stories and all that. And how do you basically turn around these horror stories as well, too? Maybe you can just pick a few that we can all learn from, and how can you turn those around?
Yeah. So you know, as I started to be, be involved with um, networking organizations. There were, the beginning of some groups that were saying, we're all in the healthcare field, or we're all in the senior industry. When one of the first things that I was invited to when I came back to New York was a group called Senior Umbrella Network, which was the umbrella of um, nursing homes, home care agencies, all these assisted living facilities, and elder law attorneys, and all people who worked within the senior industry. And I would say I'm a patient advocate, and nobody knew what it was. Then everybody was saying, I'm a patient advocate too.
Everybody
So
want to jump in the bandwagon. That's what it sounds like.
when they saw that I was making a living from it, they thought that was a good idea. But also, then the need was there. The need was there. Everybody had their story. Everybody had a story. This happened to my mother. I wish I would have known you last year. This is what happened to me, and when I went to the doctor, and this is what they did. They would say, I handled this. I had to get the records. I had to uh, help place my parents. I had to find help for them. I had to find the money. I had to buy a special insurance. This this how insurance worked. That insurance didn't work. Um, I had people that used private services from friends, people who use services that were more were from the government. You know how the government came into play with it, and so those people were showing me that there really needed to be a specialty, and so I decided that the people I really could help and people I wanted to be around were people who had exciting, interesting lives. They were great people. I loved being around them. I would love to hear their stories. I was inspired by them. I was mentored by them. And then I would want to spend the amount of time that I needed to spend with them if it was going to be successful, that it wasn't just going to be another thing of, here's the 5 quick steps that you could take to find the right doctor, or this,
Hmm.
or or I wasn't going to just take on their problems to myself and become their daughter in effect and just spend my life with them. How was I going to really make an impact and a change on, on what their whole life was going to be, as they aged, when they were going to have these chronic conditions.
And also, too, you hear about the stories about the power of attorney, assigning a power of attorney. You also have some horror stories regarding a power of attorney, like you said, caregiver, writing checks, and everything else. And of course, why is it so important to hire a power of attorney? And what are the steps? And how do you know the right way to do it? And what's the right way to hire a power of attorney instead of the wrong way of doing it?
Right. So I always loved reading magazines where they had a quiz. And so I said, I'm going to make a quiz about how to pick the right power of attorney, healthcare agent, um, and who is it that you should ask. And I wrote it from the viewpoint of, this is, if you everybody, the lawyers are out there talking about, you need a will, you need a healthcare proxy, you need that. So what I ran into was all these horror stories about either the family member had a difference of opinion about what should be done about somebody's health care. I don't want the operation, the family thinks I should get it. Right? uh, whether or not they should spend the money to get the help, or hurry up and sell the house so I could have the money of my parents and put you away in the nursing home. um, or uh, if they just didn't understand, if the people, a lot of people just didn't understand. They say, I don't have any knowledge about what to do, so I'm just going to, whatever the doctor says, I'll agree to. But everybody had a feeling about what they wanted for their future. But they weren't really speaking about it to the person that they were going to ask to be that, to play that role. And so what I was making people do was sit down and say, let's just go through these 10 questions and say, are you, you know, here I'm sitting down with my daughter, and I say, of course my daughter's going to be my healthcare proxy and my power of attorney. She knows me, and I'm sure she's going to do the right thing by me. And then I would have to ask her, first of all, are you physically able to help somebody? What if that person needs to be pushed in a wheelchair? What if that person falls on the floor? Are you physically able to handle that? Are you willing to take on somebody's problems? Do you like to listen to their problems? Because you're going to have to really know what that person does. And the main thing that people ask me is about, what does a patient advocate do? And I know somebody who does that also. They always want to say, I know somebody who does that also. And then they would either bring up the patient advocate they met in the hospital, or somebody who was a care manager. And they'd say, that's the same as a care manager. And a lot of people want to introduce me as the care manager. So the difference between a care manager and a patient advocate is the care manager listens to what the doctor says and then gets the patient to comply. The patient advocate listens to the patient and finds a way for them to deal with the issue in the way they want to. So if it means they don't want to take the medication and they know that they're going to die if they don't take the medication, that might be their decision. So that's the person that you need to have to be representing you, because they're representing you, not representing themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's how we came up with the board certification test, with the idea of a board certification test. The idea was that it's basically an ethics test. It says, do you know that it's not your decision? And it's a whole series of multiple choice questions, trick questions. We had to learn how to do trick questions. Um, and it's to make sure that the person that is making these decisions is not doing it for any other reason than for helping you to get what you wanted.
Hmm. And also, too, there's a lot when it comes to ethics as well, too. There's been a lot of fraud, embezzlement, and everything going on. And maybe we talk about some more common cases. And how do you get the money back if you've been victim of fraud or embezzlement?
So I love to tell, the stories of. Um, I love the one of the best stories is a sort of a composite of a few people who um, had a similar thing happen to them, which was that when the gentleman had come from Germany when he was in his teens, and came through the they had to run away to Italy and then go through Africa and then wound up in South America, and then eventually went to school in Cuba and then became a teacher in New York. Um, he had an accent, he had the German accent, um, but he was really a brilliant person, and he was very interested in telling the story of how he came to America. And he had all these books from people who was similar to him. So when he was uh, eventually, older, and what usually happens to precipitate getting into the system is a fall. So he had a fall. Um, he was in a rehab after short hospitalization, and they had a um, a bracelet on his leg, like as if he was in jail,
Mm-hmm.
so that he wouldn't get onto the elevator. And they said he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's just meandering around, and he's all over the place. And he would say things like, they're listening to me on the telephone. There's somebody on that phone. Um, and but he knew that he knew where his money was, and he had been a really good investor. So he had a lot of investments that were really paying off, and he was able to live very well for most of his life. So he said, it wasn't safe for him to go home, and he said, "Here's my debit card. I know that this is where all my money goes, all my income goes
Wow.
into this bank account. So take this bank account and get me a nice place to live." So get him out of that situation, because he would have just, without having anybody to be his advocate, he would have just stayed in the nursing home. They would be happy to keep the person and take all of their money to pay for nursing home for the rest of his life.
Mm.
But he knew to say, "Get my banker on the phone and let's get out
No matter what language.
of here." So when we called up the bank, they said he only has $30 in his account.
What?
So said, "Well, that's not possible." So he gave me what's called the limited power of attorney. It means I'm just getting the power of attorney to handle one particular situation. And that was to be able to go to the bank and speak with the banker. I had no rights to take anything, no rights to sell his property, no rights to put him in a nursing home. All I had was the right to go to see what was going on at the bank. And when I got to the bank, they said, "Well, he buys a lot of things at Victoria's Secret.
Oh
He
my
buys
gosh.
things at Forever 21." I said, "Well, that's not him." Well, it turned out that his aide, who, when you hear the words, "Oh, he loves her, she loves him, and he only wants her," that's like a red flag to say they're too close to that situation. Something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, what this person was doing, because they don't believe that they're going to get caught. They think, "Oh, this person is too stupid. They're too out of it, and I can just go take their money." So it was very easy to find who it was that was doing it. The money comes back by filing a police report, and then the police hand that information over to the district attorney, and a fraud report is given to the bank, and the bank, your money is insured. So he was able to get that money replaced for a whole year going back. This girl had been knew his bank statements, knew what bills he had, that he wouldn't know that anything was going on, because his bills were able to be paid, but everything else that was not his regular bills, she was, I guess, going to the store and buying things and selling them, because how many, Victoria's Secrets do you need?
Oh my gosh. I'm like
Either.
too much to count. You're right.
And she was arrested, and has to pay for her crime. um,
Wow, that is something. And of course, you could also, you can also be a patient advocate as well too. And more on gethealthhelp.com with Karen Isaacs. And how do you be a patient advocate? We'll find out just 1 minute. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with a board certified patient advocate and founder of GetHealthHelp.com, Karen Isaacs, after this time out. We're back with board certified patient advocate and founder of Gethealthhelpcom, Caryn Isaacs here on the Mike Wagner Show. We talked about some of the horror stories in healthcare and how to turn them around, picking the wrong power of attorney, picking the right one, and also some embezzlement and fraud cases, how to get the money back. Now, of course, the patient advocate has become a fastest career sector has been growing in the nation as well too. How does one become a patient advocate?
So, I mean, anybody can call themselves a patient advocate because there's no license. That's the reason that we wanted to come up with this some type of criteria to say that someone has gone through some type of vetting process. But there are patient advocates now. There are actually over 1,000 people who have become board certified patient advocates. And there are a number of organizations that train patient advocates. I belong to Alliance of Professional Health Advocates, which is has a directory where there's names of patient advocates all throughout the country, and it also talks about the specializations because I mentor people who want to become a patient advocate. I was selected by this Alliance of Professional Health Advocates. There was 5 of us around the country that were had a lot of experience in advocacy. So we were asked, could we come up with some type of a mentorship program? And the first thing that people ask us is, what do you get paid? Where do I get my people from? and and so we came up with, there were more standardized questions. So we came up with pages and pages and pages, and again, certain questionnaires for people to answer for themselves to see, is this really something that you want to do? And then it is running a business. So half of what we help people to do is to maybe learn a little bit more about a particular subject. I have people shadow me. So if they're in the New York area, they can come with me for the day, and eventually, hopefully, those people will be people I can refer to and trust, and I can say, I trained this person, and I can refer clients to them. But the idea is not for them to be the same as me. That's why I say where my background came from is what formed what I do specifically. That's why it was, get health help was me. That's what I do. But what somebody else might do is help people with their billing. So maybe their thing would be get billing help, and other people are specific to cancer. Most, I would say, I shouldn't say most, because we are only now coming up with some real statistics, and we will shortly have some real statistics on what patient advocates do. There was the board did a survey last year, or right before COVID. So this year and last year all melded in together, of what is the role of a patient advocate, and so there are people who are hired as a patient advocate by the hospitals are basically consumer. They're the consumer department, consumer affairs department, squash the complaint.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you are hired by an insurance company, by a hospital, by a company, then usually your loyalties have to be towards that company, what it is that they're trying to do for the patient. But a private patient advocate, a patient advocate who has this as a business, is someone who is, their role is to help the patient to get what they want. Then that person has to know what to do about it, and not one person can know every single thing that happens to every person. And so I really like that quality of life type of issue. That's why my tagline is, I find ways for aging icons to continue their life's mission. I only want clients to come to me if they consider themselves an icon. Somebody else might want to help people who are underprivileged. And so they might start a not for profit and they would still be a patient advocate. So
Mm.
that's, really, the person has a calling to say that they want to help patients in any way, and then they can define their business model how they want.
That's really interesting too. You talked earlier about the future of healthcare, and you talked about back in the day or so. What do you see in the future of healthcare? Right now into past 2022 and beyond.
Well, we wished that there was a, a national health plan, uh, which, it doesn't seem like that's going to be something within our, maybe not within my lifetime. Um, and so there is currently more and more moving towards a two-tier system where the people who have money will be able to buy concierge services. Um, there are now companies that offer what would be the future of healthcare. They have all kinds of high tech ways to find out what's going on and do a lot of prevention. And these are fantastic things that are happening. But people need to have money to do that. And then, as a patient advocate, people say, well, what do people do if they can't afford you? Well, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that. They can't have me, they can't have what I offer. But if someone calls me, and anyone can call me, I'm happy to talk to anybody on the phone or have them email me. But all I can do for those people is refer them to services that might be able to help them. And unfortunately, not really be able to help them too well if they really don't have um, too much money. If they have no money, sometimes that's better than having a little bit of money.
Hmm. Right, and it also depends on well too. We'll find out what the future holds in 2022 and beyond as well too. And where can we get more information on and where can we find you on the website?
So, Gethealthhelp.com is my website. I also have a blog at KarynIsaacs.com. And anyone who's interested in uh, what I now believe to be the what we should all be concerned about is patient safety.
Oh yes, that's another one, another sector like patient advocate. That's a good one, patient safety.
Right? And so, we just say thank God you have your health, but if you don't have your health, then you want to at least not have the healthcare system kill you or hurt you. So, in order for you to know that everything that you need to do to set yourself up, all the things we were talking about, making sure you have the right documentation, it's healthcare, it's legal issues, it's financial issues, and it's knowing what the person is and knowing how to ask the right questions and knowing that you can ask questions. So all of that is in my latest advocacy work that I do for the public. I'm on the board of an organization called Pulse. Um, it's a uh, it's a not-for-profit specializing in safety issues. And on the second Monday of every month, anyone who either considers themselves a patient advocate, a caregiver who needs to know how to advocate for somebody, or just somebody who has an interest in learning more, can reach me, and you can see my posts on and my reels that I'm doing on Facebook for Pulse organization.
We will certainly check that out as well too. Once again, we're with board certified patient advocate and founder of Gethealthhelp.com, Caryn Isaacs on the Mike Wagner Show. Caryn, just a few more minutes here. What can we expect from you in 2022 and beyond?
Uh, we are there will be more people who know about patient advocacy. There is an organization called GNA now, Greater National Advocates, um, that that is really spending a lot of money and had a champion who had a medical error. It was an attorney who was victim of a medical error, and medical errors, that term is going to be very big because people are starting to learn how to stand up for themselves.
Mm.
Uh, on the side of healthcare, uh, right now you don't see a doctor in the hospital. You don't see even a nurse anymore. You say, oh, it was all the nurses. No, now it's a student who may come to interview you, because what's happening is everything is the doctor in a box. So just
Mm.
like we have the computer, the more that insurance companies force the standardization, and that's where the government is moving to go towards, which is these are going to be the rules for payment, and people who have to work for a living, they follow where the money is. And so where the money is going to be in these standardized procedures. And so as more and more standardization occurs, and this was all part of how Obamacare was meant to work, that it was meant to try to say these are the quality indicators, and now we have those in effect. And so when you go to the doctor or you are in a hospital, you will have the doesn't matter who it is. Like, they don't have to know anything else. They just have to press the button. You see it when you go into the doctor's office, and they're not looking at you. They're looking at that screen because it's telling them. So why should it be a doctor? It could be anybody, or it could be a robot.
Or it could be somebody from the Jetsons back in the day too. You never know. Oh my gosh. The future lies ahead in front of us on a screen here. We're with Caryn Isaacs on the Mike Wagner Show. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
The biggest influence in my career was my mentor, who met me back when I was a dental assistant, and said, you should be a consultant, and then for many years helped me to learn how to say, doctor, how would I be able to help you if I don't know how to ask for the money for myself? So that is how I made sure that I continued to have a business that's been alive since 1976. And I think, when people say, you're successful, I think, it's just, are you still alive? So,
Hmm. That's certainly true as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
well, the best advice I can give is to not to be afraid to ask questions and pay attention to what is being told to you. And if you can't do it, no one can do it themselves. And there's so much to learn. So don't go it alone. If you ask anyone, to make sure that somebody is your advocate, and it could be your neighbor, it could be um, your family member, and if you can't find somebody who would be able to who is willing to stand up for you, or just go with you to the doctor's office, or be with you through any kind of health scare, then please reach out to a professional.
We will certainly do so. Once again, we're with the board certified patient advocate and founder of Gethealthhelpcom, Caryn Isaacs on the Mike Wagner Show. Caryn, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love having you back. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, and where can people simply get information?
Thank you.
What website?
Gethealthhelp.com.
And we'll certainly check that out. Once again, Caryn, a very big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Absolutely looking forward to having you soon. Make sure you keep in touch, keep us up to date. Looking forward to have you back. We wish you all best. And Caryn, you've got a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.